Greetings, tactics fans and creative folks. My name's Craig Stern, I'm the developer of Together in Battle, and I am here today to announce an exciting new contest: create a strategy RPG micro-campaign in Together in Battle, and prize winnings could be yours. I'm just going to go over the rules here real fast. This is going to take place over the course of 2 months, starting today at noon Central Time, and going until October 16th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m., also Central Time. You can even click that to have it sort of displayed in whatever time zone you want. Alright, here's the deal. Together in Battle comes with this thing called a campaign creation suite, and it basically covers every single aspect of strategy RPG development. You can create characters, you can create cutscenes, you can create unique items and skills, and of course, you can create strategy RPG battles. There's so many things you can do in the campaign creation suite. It's just enormously powerful, and yet pretty easy to use. We'll get to more about that in a sec. Let's get back to the contest rules here for a second. So the theme of this contest is secret. So, here are the rules. Number 1, your campaign must be playable within Together in Battle. That means it has to be made either in Together in Battle's campaign creation suite, or in Together in Battle's free demo, which also has the campaign creation suite. You get full access even if you haven't bought the game. So, even if you haven't bought Together in Battle, you can still participate in this contest. Rule 2. Your campaign must be mini. It must consist of exactly 2 battles and no more than 5 scenes total. So that means, exactly 2 battles, and if you want to use cutscenes, you can have up to 3 of those. And for those of you who aren't aware of what exactly a cutscene is within Together in Battle, think of like GBA era Fire Emblem, right? You have these backgrounds, you can have custom menus, shops, and so on, and you have also access to dialogue trees. And you have character portraits that you can kind of have like walk around and interact and have dialogue and such. But that's optional. The only thing you have to have is 2 battles. Alright, rule 3. Your campaign must tell a complete self-contained story. And that's exactly what it sounds like. You can have your campaign take place in your own setting if you want. It can connect to other stories. But whatever you submit has to feel like it's complete and self-contained. Rule 4. Your campaign must relate to the contest theme in some way. So it must incorporate a secret or secrets in some form or fashion. For example, it can be about a secret conspiracy, unmasking a secret traitor, learning the secret to achieving some goal, fighting to keep a secret from coming out, secretly infiltrating somewhere. It can have a twist where a character reveals a secret that assures victory when things look hopeless, and so on and so on. It's totally up to you how you want to incorporate the theme. Come up with something imaginative, and I'll like it. Number 5. Your campaign must be your own original work. And when I say you can have a team, right? It doesn't have to be just one person working on it. And even if you want to cooperate outside your team with other people on the ins and outs of the campaign creation suite, I encourage that. I think that would be awesome. You should definitely do that. Any assets that come with Together in Battle, obviously you can use those. If you create custom assets yourself, obviously you can use those. Or if you use assets that are in the public domain, you can use those too. You can find a lot of public domain sound effects, for example, on freesound.org. That said, any assets you use that aren't public domain, that aren't already part of Together in Battle, and that you didn't create yourself, you must have an appropriate license or written permission in order to use that in your submission. And please do not use any generative AI, no LLM text, no stable diffusion, image generation stuff, just none of that, please. We want this to showcase human creativity. Rule 6. You must email me your submission info and upload your submission to the Steam Workshop for Together in Battle by the contest deadline, which, again, is October 16th, 2025 by 11:59 p.m. All you have to do is send me your name or an alias, if you prefer, of yourself and everyone in your team, the name of your campaign, a short explanation of how your campaign uses the theme, and, if you want to avoid spoilers, you can be kind of coy about it, and any other special instructions or information that you want the judges to have when they play it. Speaking of judges, let's talk about the criteria for how this is going to get scored. All submissions will be scored on basically three categories: gameplay, narrative, and aesthetic. Gameplay is most important. That gets 40 points, and that's broken down into pacing, balance, technical, and creativity. Pacing: battles should pose tactical questions to the player at a steady pace, neither overwhelming them nor leaving too much empty time where the player has no interesting choices to make. Balance: battles should pose an appropriate challenge without being frustrating. Characters should all be useful to some degree, with distinct roles to play in the fighting, and progression from leveling up that meaningfully alters their capabilities. We don't want... How should I put this? We don't want a typical Fire Emblem thing where characters are basically just bundles of stats with very minor differences. We want them to have distinct skills and advantages and meaningfully different roles in the fights. Technical. The submission should competently use a variety of the engine's features: elevation, special terrain, destructible objects, lighting, weather, triggers, dialogue interactions, and so on. You don't have to, obviously, but the more of this you use and the better you use it, the more points you'll score in this category. That said, don't overscope. If you have a bunch of bugs in your category, that will deduct points. Creativity. We want to see submissions with a good variety of different enemy types, and which successfully use gameplay to support the narrative elements of the campaign. Anything you do that's clever, unexpected, or creative will score you points here. Narrative. So this is somewhat less important than gameplay, but it still counts for a whole bunch of points, so don't neglect it. Narrative has three subcategories. Plot. What happens in the story? Does it make sense? Does it fit the setting and the characters? Is it interesting, funny, or emotionally affecting? As this suggests, it doesn't have to be a serious story, but it does need to be a well-told story that makes some kind of internal sense. Characters. Who participates in the story? Do they have distinct personalities and ways of speaking? Does their dialogue sound natural? Do they develop and change over the course of the submission? Do they have entertaining interactions with each other? Do their motivations naturally play into the plot? These are all just aspects of writing characters well. So if you write characters where their dialogue sounds stilted and unnatural, that'll lose you some points. If your characters all sound like it's just you, like if they don't have distinctive voice, as writers say, that'll lose points. So do your best to portray characters with genuinely different personalities and different ways of speaking. And of course, give them arcs. Think about, what is a character, what is a problem that your character has, or a flaw they need to overcome, or something of that nature. And you give them an arc, right? Somehow, over the course of the fight, they should develop. Or at least have the capacity to, based on conversations with other characters. And of course, that's only if it's a positive arc. Arcs can, of course, be negative. A character could have a tragic arc where they start off great, and a fatal flaw brings them to ruin. That's also totally cool. We love that. We are all about our ancient Greek storytelling here. Finally, theme. How well is the contest theme integrated into the narrative? Is the story built around it? Are character arcs built around the theme? The more of that you have, the better. Aesthetic. The submission should look and sound good. Obviously, that's subjective, but, definitely do your best to keep things somewhat pleasant. This is only 10 points because, it's just not as important as narrative or gameplay, in my personal opinion, but even so, do your best. Anyway, that adds up to 80 points. Every submission will be scored out of 80 points using those criteria. I will be judging every entry myself, but I have reached out to other people to help me judge, and if they agree to help me, then our scores will be averaged to get the final score out of 80 for each submission. I'll be announcing the judges when that's finalized, but for now, assume it's just me, for whatever that's worth. The submissions will be ranked in descending order by their final score. The submission with the highest score takes first place, obviously. Second highest score takes second place, and so on. If there are ties in the scores, they will be broken on the basis of each submission's theme score. So if we have two campaigns that score equally well, but one hews to the contest theme better, right? It has more to do with secrets. The one that has the better theme score will win out. They will win in that tie. Prizes, and here I think is probably what will interest a lot of folks. We have 4 prizes of a cash variety. Whatever takes first place wins $100 US. Second place, $75. Third place, $50. Fourth place, $25. Real simple. If we don't get more than 4 submissions, which I think would be unlikely, but if that happens, then you're guaranteed a prize for submitting something that is a complete submission and meets the original contest criteria listed above. So there's no reason not to participate. And regardless of placement, every campaign that is submitted, I will play through live on YouTube with commentary, and I may be able to convince some other streamers to stream as well. We'll see about that. How to make a campaign. Yeah, that's a good one. How do you make a campaign in the Campaign Creator? So the Campaign Creator, to some extent, kind of guides you through when you first open it up. It walks you through the process of creating a character, and then creating an introductory cutscene, and then creating a battle. But that is fairly basic, and if you want more details, there is a really excellent guide that was put together by community member Tacitus. I've linked it here in the contest announcement. I highly recommend going and looking it over. There is an old video that I made from my previous game, Telepath Tactics Liberated, which also talks about how to create a campaign in that game's campaign editor, which is basically the same as the Together in Battle campaign editor, but it's less full-featured. It's not quite as robust. It's not quite as good. My recommendation is read the guide by Tacitus, because he goes over some of the differences there. And I intend to start putting out videos where I go through how to do it step by step in the Together in Battle campaign creator pretty soon. So stay tuned for that if you are interested in video tutorials specifically on the campaign creator in its current incarnation in Together in Battle. And that's it, folks. You have 2 months to make 2 battles and up to 3 cutscenes themed around secrets. Best of luck. I hope you get some prize money with a really awesome campaign. I am so excited to play these. Thanks for watching, and best of luck to all of the competitors. See you soon.